Good morning, friends. Hope you all are doing well. Today, we are going to discuss on how to excel in client-facing job roles in SAP projects. This is the topic for today's video. Before I proceed further, I would request all of you to kindly like this video, share this video in your network, and also subscribe my YouTube channel as I keep bringing videos on such kind of topics which are usually not available elsewhere. So let's proceed further. So what we are going to see as a part of this video, what we will learn out of it and what all the contents, let's go through. We will understand what is called as client facing job roles in SAP. Then we will see the types of client facing role. It can be virtual, face to face, and we will see the meaning of all these things more in detail. Then how to prepare for such kind of roles, scheduling a meeting with the client, discussion and explanation, share your viewpoints, detailed problem ticket gap analysis, then self confidence, which is connected to your oral and written communication, continuous improvements, and finally we will end this video on the conclusion part. Let's proceed further. What is actually meant by client facing role? Many a times we hear this term, but then there are people who do not have proper understanding about what client facing role actually mean. It can take various forms, it can take various routes, it can take various ways, but then it is important to understand precisely what exactly it means. This simply means we will be in the regular touch with the client. Client here means it can be a business user, it can be a key user, it can be a stakeholder, it can be some other people also who are connected to the work directly or indirectly, and connection can be virtual and or face to face as it may be. There is no hard and fast rule how this client facing role, which kind of connection it will take into. It depends. It depends on the various situations, various requirements, and so many different factors. So whenever you will have client facing roles, usually it will be mentioned in the JD as well, or maybe when somebody called you for the interview, that time also they will tell you this role is a client facing role. That means you will be in regular touch with the client, and client is, as I said, business user, key user, senior people, stakeholders, and so on. Then this client facing role can come up into an implementation project, support project, upgrade project, development and enhancement project, any kind of mini project, and so on. Again, as I said, it can have into, it can take different ways into any of the project. But in general, what I have seen, mostly middle and senior level people are the ones who pick up such kind of roles. Usually, mostly for the very junior level consultants, they do not go for it. but then anybody who is at the middle level, and sometimes even junior also, if they are really very effective and who can handle the client queries questions, they also get such kind of client facing roles. Here the most important point is, how do you handle such kind of situations with the client with so many factors involved all at one go. So it is very important to handle such kind of situations in your professional life very tactfully, and ensure that there is no unnecessary confusion or any kind of problem between you and your client. Not just that, you also will have to build up a good rapport with the client people so that you can do your work in a much better way. Kindly keep in mind that not every detail of the job is mentioned in the job description or JD, whatever it is called as. But this client facing role forms a very important part of your entire day-to-day work which you do in your SAP project. And it can fall into any category of project, really does not matter. Implementation, rollout, upgrade, enhancement, system upgrade, whatever it may be, doesn't matter. This is what it is actually. So by now we are clear what is client facing job, and also I said it can be virtual or real as the case may be. If you are connecting with the client over the Teams MS Teams meeting call, it is virtual. If you are sitting face to face in front of each other, it is real. Let's move further. So as I said, two types. Now we will see what all virtual scenarios we have and what all face to face scenarios we can have. There can be some other ways also, but I have noted down all the important ones which I have gone through and I have come across. So in virtual, it can be through the Microsoft Teams application, it can be through the Slack, it can be with the Zoom Meet link, via Outlook, or any other virtual connection method you can think of, WebEx. So these are some of the and sometimes via any desk application also. There are so many. The list is very long, and Google Meet also some people use. So it can take any route. There is no hard and fast rule which application will be used by whom. The important thing is you are meeting them in a virtual mode, with video call, without video call. It can be either way around. But one important thing here to notice, if you are on a video call, please manage your facial expressions properly, and you should be professionally dressed. That is very important. Ensure that the background of your picture in the virtual connection in the video mode is appropriate as per the office setting. So this is what you have to maintain correctly. The same thing goes for the interview also. If you are attending the interview also through the video virtually, kindly maintain all these things. It is very important. Then if you are going for face to face meeting with the client, which is another option, so it can be for different regions, different things. Suppose implementation work is going to happen and client has called you for workshop meeting. Workshop meeting is nothing but business requirement gathering phase of the SAP project. It can be in ECC, S4 or any other system variety, doesn't matter. But process is more or less same. You will have gap analysis, you have fit gap analysis, you have all other factors. So how do you discuss these things? These things usually are conducted at the client location. Usually. So you will visit to the client location. The client people also might travel from different locations, come to that location. You will be there for some time, and full day will go into the meeting and discussions only, and it is all face to face. Then it is also possible that your job is actually putting you directly at the client office. In that case, you are 200% all the client facing role only, because you are sitting just along with the client, and there you will be there full time. Then it is also possible that usually for projects many a times the teams are scattered or at all different locations. But in that case, if it is at different locations, they always say that at least once in a year or maybe once in 6 months, they all come to single place and then they meet each other face to face. Such kind of meeting can also happen with the client. Sometimes client can even call you for some KT sessions if you have joined a new project and KT session is going on. So for some KT sessions you might need to travel again to the client place. In that case, that also will become working directly at the client. So all these are different scenarios in which you will have direct face to face interaction. And remember, both are though falling under your client facing role itself, but maintaining and managing virtual client facing role is much more easier when compared to face to face, because in virtual mode you can off the video and you just need to talk correctly. That's all you need to do. But then if you are face to face, then you need to be fully updated. You should know what you are talking, you should know what you are doing, you should know your activity, you should know your area of expertise very well, because client will ask you any kind of queries and you have to handle it. And for that, very high level of expertise is needed. Otherwise, it will be difficult to manage. Okay, let's move further. Ah, This is what I was talking about, preparation for such roles. How do you prepare for such kind of roles? If it is a client facing role written in your JD or mentioned during the initial screening rounds, how do you prepare? First of all is you should be aware of yourself, what all areas you have very strong knowledge, what all areas are your weak areas where you do not have much exposure or much knowledge or much hands on. So in that case, first you have to go through the JD thoroughly, check yourself what all areas you are comfortable and what areas you are not so comfortable. Areas where you are not so comfortable, you have to revise it and ensure that those areas are also at least in a position that you can manage the client expectations very well. Remember, in all client facing roles, the expectations of the client will be very high from you. They will think that you are the god of SAP and you know anything and everything, sometimes even beyond your core SAP module knowledge. They will think that you know the whole of the SAP across all modules. Sometimes business users think like that. So in that case, if somebody has that kind of expectation, ensure that you clarify these things to the people in a way that they understand that SAP is so big that one person just cannot cover up everything in the SAP. One can have expectation of any level, that is a separate thing. But then You need to set those expectations in a way which does not cross your knowledge boundary level. And sometimes if you don't know something, you can clearly say to the business that I need to check on this, give me some time, I will get back to you with my detailed analysis on this, and then we will connect and discuss, and we will try to understand what exactly you are looking at in this particular work or issue. So that is all about the self awareness. Then what time you are meeting with the client? Is it a whole day meeting? Is it a half an hour meeting? It is a virtual or real? Are you going to a meeting room, or are you meeting at some other different locations? So place and time of meeting connect is also very important, and you also need to prepare yourself in the similar fashion. This also covers up virtual and real interviews, and not only interviews related to the work as well. Suppose business user has said that okay, let us connect at 5:30 p.m. So by 5:30 p.m. you should be ready, and not just that, 5 minutes before the meeting you should be fully ready with all the facts and all other things. And if there are a couple of points and you feel that you might miss on some of those points while discussing with the client on those requirements, it is always good and it is a right practice to prepare a small notes which will contain all the important points which you are going to discuss with the client. It is also good if you let the client know that these are the areas which you are going to discuss in advance. In that case, your meeting will be more useful and more valuable with the client. It will be more meaningful. Output will be good. But then for that to happen, you must prepare it very well. Keep everything ready at your end. It can be related to any topic. It can be a ticket, it can be a new requirement, it can be a workshop, it can be a particular area of things, it can be a new functionality expecting. There are so many varieties. But then preparation is the key. That is very important. And that is what will make you stand out in front of the client. They will say, yes, this person is excellent. You will hear such kind of words only when you do very well, sometimes beyond their expectation. Let's move further. How do you schedule a meeting with the business user or the client or whosoever? First thing is, you have to plan these things in advance. That means you will send the notification of the meeting well in advance. Sometimes even if you are at the client location, you will have to meet with the client not just on at your desk, sometimes in a meeting room, sometimes you need to give presentations also, depending on which kind of situation you are dealing with. If all these things are the case, then you have to plan all these things well in advance and make yourself ready for it. All of a sudden, if you go for a meeting without proper planning, there is a fair amount of chance that you might miss on some of the very important points, and that will ensure that you will have to now repeat that meeting once again. So same work you will do twice, and nobody likes it. Trust me, nobody likes it, particularly from a client side. Sometimes they explain half, but they expect that you have understood it as full. And do not keep any doubt in your head. While discussing, ensure that you are clarifying each and every small and big doubts. There is no exception to it. Then you also need to send a meeting request well in advance and see that how many people have accepted it. Particularly in the virtual mode, it is very important. In face to face, anyway, that person will be available right in front of you in the physical form. Then you also need to check what is the calendar status of the party which you with whom you are going to meet. In the virtual mode, you can check it up. Even if it is face to face, you can tell them that this time we are meeting, kindly be available. Or you can politely ask what time we can meet. Let's meet to discuss on this particular requirement, particular ticket, particular issue, or anything which is to be discussed. While sending a meeting request, ensure that the subject of the meeting or that should contain the issue which you are going to discuss. Suppose it is a particular process you are going to define, mention that process. P2P process we are going to discuss, for example. O2Cs or maybe any specific. Suppose some payment forms you are going to develop, payment advice form you are going to develop, which is needed, or dunning form. And then there are so many things. Or maybe a particular customer report you are going to discuss. So mention that customer report which you are going to discuss. And if there are any documentations which can be shared with the client in advance while sending the meeting request, those things send it to the client as well, so that they will also go through those documents, and then you will discuss all to the point and get all the relevant information from the business. But you also need to do your homework, and you should have the thorough information about that particular issue which you are going to discuss with the client. And this is how you will proceed with the scheduling the meet with the business users. Let's move further. Discussion and explanation. Here we will discuss how these kind of meets will get conducted and how these things will go through, whether it is virtual or whether it is face to face. More or less same rules will follow, not much of difference. Few things might go a little bit left and right, but then all important things will go into the similar fashion. Remember, this brief introduction part will come when you are meeting somebody for the first time. When you are meeting the same person second time, third time, then this brief introduction part you can skip on, because then that person knows who you are and what area you are dealing with. So this is very important, particularly for the first time when you are meeting to a new person, whether virtual or real, does not matter. Introduction of 2 or 3 lines max can be given and should be given. Ideally should be given. Then you will discuss what is the pain point, what is the topic of the meeting. As I said, suppose you are going to discuss on a particular gap, so you will say, okay, this is the gap what we have found as part of this particular implementation or rollout or any other kind of project what you have, and this is what we are proposing as a solution kind of thing. So that anyway you will first understand the issue, understand the requirement. If there are doubts, you have to clarify them and note down all the important points. You should not skip even a single important point, because then later on that can become an issue. So it is very important to make the note of it, if possible, and if needed, even record the meeting. If at all needed, you can record the meeting if it is in the virtual mode, and but before recording, always ask permission. Do not miss on that. Do not record any video without asking a confirmation from the client side. Then after meeting and explanation, everything is being done, then you also need to send the minutes of the meeting, which is also called as MOM. Minutes of the meeting means all the important point what you have discussed and agreed during that particular meeting. This is a very good practice. Many people don't follow it, but then if you are sending MOM, it not just looks more professional, it also ensures that suppose by mistake one or two points you have missed out in your MOM, client also might add up those points and ensure that officially you are communicating that as a part of this meeting or part of this meet, we have agreed and discussed these points. It will act as a proper record at your end, and tomorrow even a client cannot say that we have not discussed and things like that, or we have missed on these points, because not every meeting is going to be recorded. But then if you send an MOM, that will definitely act as a valid proof that you have discussed with the client and you have notified to the client on those points. That means in case of any issue with the client, or when client will say no, we have not discussed on this, you will have a proof to validate your statement. That saves your face, and that also shows to the client that what was discussed, and they cannot deny on that. Then after sending MOM, you also need to ensure that to do the follow-up if further activities is to be carried out after that meeting. So you have to check the follow-up and do the follow-up status on that. Usually one meeting does not cover up everything. 2-3 meetings are also needed depending on the issue you are dealing with, and also depending on what kind of issue you are dealing with the client. Can it be finished into single meeting, or does it need multiple meetings? It depends. There is again not a hard and fast rule. It is purely business requirement driven things. So follow-up meetings also might be needed, because in a single meeting, if client is very busy, they may not have enough time, they are giving you only 30 minutes of time, so probably in 30 minutes you cannot cover up every point. Then in that case you need to ask for the follow-up meeting. And even if you are expecting some information from the client, again you have to keep on changing them. You have to send a reminder if they forget, or if they are delaying it, so you need to send the reminders. So these things are also very important. Let's move further. While discussing with the client, couple of points are very important, and this is also part of how you are going to conduct your meeting with the client. Virtual or real really not matter much. Process is more or less same. So you need to share your viewpoints, what you understand based on their requirement. If you have doubt, please ask once again. Asking, but very important point here is most of the client do not like the if you ask the same kind of question again and again and again and again, and do not repeat the same points multiple times. This creates a very negative image of yourself in front of the client, in the eyes of the client. Ensure that these kind of things do not happen. And if you have a habit, please fix this habit before you get into any kind of direct client facing roles. This is very important. It will create a very bad image of you if you do like that. Then you must have lot of patience for listening first. This is very important skill, and many people do not have it properly. They jump it in between, they interrupt the client in between, they do not let client finish first. Remember, meeting is not done for you, meeting is done always for the client or their requirement and likewise scenarios. So in that case, if you don't listen to them, many a times you will not get the inputs which you are looking at from the client side. You should have all your questions ready, but then first listen, and once they finish it off, then you can put your point across, or if you need some additional information, ask. So always listen carefully and keep making notes also if needed. If you are on a virtual mode, if possible, if they allow, record the session if you feel that by making notes you cannot cover up everything. Then if it is a gap, or it can be any new requirement discussion, new functionalities, or you are doing a deep dive on a problem ticket, such kind of situations, you also need to recommend the solution, what you are proposing as a solution, what will be the solution for the given issue. It can be single solution, it can be multiple solutions. And then if it is a multiple solution, then you say this is the best approach as per my understanding and experience, because many a times you will find multiple solutions for a single problem. So this is how you will put across your points. Then clarify the doubts if any. Still, if you have some doubts, if you feel that some information is missing, some information you have not received fully, you have only two ways: either set up a follow-up meeting, or ask in the same meeting directly, or you can even drop an email for the same. But it is always good, most of the doubts, or rather I will say 100% of the doubts, should get clarified during the meeting itself. That is the best approach. And for that to happen, you need to keep all your questions ready related to a particular requirement or anything like that. So your personal preparation about a particular issue or situation will decide what is the best outcome possible out of a client meeting. So here also your excellent preparation will support you and help you. And do not rely always on your understanding. If you feel that situation or the work is really very complex, get it reviewed by one or two more people in your team, so that suppose one or two important points if you are missing out, somebody else will help you to include the other points as well, which is important for that particular requirement. So that is very important. Let's move further. Now, what all can be the possible topics on which we are going to discuss? Remember, I have just written few here. I have not included anything and everything because the list can be really very long. So all varieties, whatever you have seen here, I have my experience into all of these, and some others also which is not mentioned because I cannot mention. As I said, the list is very long, but it can be related to any known problem. Suppose there are certain pain points for the client where they feel they regularly come across that kind of issue and they don't have a proper solution for that. For example, something they are doing it on a manually on a monthly basis. The possible solution can be setting up a batch job for that, so that they don't need to run it manually on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. Then it can be related to any kind of high priority ticket where discussions are important, or it can be any other ticket. If it is a new requirement, it can be possible. Then if you are doing a workshop session kind of thing with the business for an implementation project in S4 or ECC, doesn't matter, you can discuss on the gap analysis. It can be related to any kind of development or enhancement request from the business which might come up in the form of new request or maybe the change request. And if any urgent issue is there, suppose say, all of a sudden some new requirements has come, some modifications has come, some new things need to be done on an urgent basis, particularly at the month end and year end, you will find such kind of connects more frequently than the rest of the month time. So, and change request, as you know, it can be related to your day-to-day work also. But change requests are usually something where you need to configure something new, something extra, and some new things are coming up. So making a change in an SAP standard report will be an example for a change request. This is not ticket. Remember, there are two things. There are ticket and there are service request. Ticket means anything which is running in the system which got broken up or which has created some issue and now it is not running as expected, then it is a ticket. And if they are asking to do something new, suppose they are saying set up a new GL account, set up a new asset class, set up a full-fledged new company code, all will come under your service request. And if it is a big piece of work, for example setting up a full-fledged company code, then it is also a kind of mini implementation project. So it can have a lot of list of activities basically. So these all can be your different topics. There can be many more varieties, and it depends purely on the what client is looking at from the system and where client needs your expertise and help to sort out their issues related to the system. Let's move further. Now, how do you conduct yourself during the meeting? You must have lots of self-confidence, not just in the written communication but also in the oral communication. Both are equally important. Always use assertive language to convey your thoughts. Sometimes what you will come across many a times is the other party may not agree to your thoughts because they think that this is way this particular activity is being done so far, and suppose they are proposing a new way, they may not accept it instantly. In that case you have to give some examples, give some justification, and if they are saying to do you something which is beyond the scope, you can also ask, sir, what is the business justification for this? Can you please tell me? Is it impacting your legal compliance, or is it a new requirement? Is it a new change come up as per the rules and regulations? What is it? Could you please give us some more information on the same? So always use assertive language to convey your thoughts related to any issue, does not matter which category it is. If you don't agree to certain points which client has told you, always you can disagree but gracefully. There is a difference between disagree with gracefully and disagree with angry. You have to always talk politely, never lose your cool during the discussion, though sometimes situation will force you to become angry and talk angrily, but as you are a vendor or as you are supporting to the client, you are not expected to become angry at any point of time. That will create a very bad impression of yours in front of client. You need to handle sometimes very difficult people also. So all these things you will have to learn. These things mostly in theory you just cannot learn. When you go through the job, when you go through the various kind of situations in your professional life, and then only you learn all these things, because by reading only, if everybody will learn everything, then experience is will be of no use. So that do not happen that way. And maintain your calm. As I said, you cannot become hot during the discussion, during the meeting, during the anything. All you need to do is convey your points, make the points list ready, and talk to the point. No need to go left and right unnecessarily. To the point and explain properly with examples. Always attach few examples which will justify and which will give more weightage to your discussion. That helps. And they will also understand. Sometimes some people think that they know much better than what you know. And it can be real also, it can be fake also. It depends because everybody has a different kind of mindset. You also need to be in a position to read the mindset of the other person. Then only you can handle the client facing roles efficiently. Otherwise, every now and then there will be some problem, some complaints, some issues, some nonsense things to deal with, and it will make your professional life more and more difficult. Anyway, client facing role is always little bit more challenging and difficult compared to the all the roles, but then this is a role which will teach you also lot of things which you do not learn in any other role. So this is little more difficult, but then it also has an opportunity to grow, to make yourself more comfortable to deal with any kind of difficult situations, difficult conversations as well. You need to show your expertise also. At the same time, you need to respect the other party as well, respect their ego as well. There are so many things I can say. I can just keep on going saying on and on, but then it doesn't have an end. So we'll not go further. Let's move further. Remember, this is not a one time activity and overnight you cannot become a master. So, this dealing with the client, managing the client, managing the client expectations, particularly in the virtual mode or the face to face mode, this is an skill which you need to learn. If you don't have experience, try doing one or two small ones, you will get some exposure. Then, based on that, modify your approach while meeting with the client, and then keep on upgrading yourselves. For this, you need to do the regular practice. In once you do something, you will not learn everything out of it. So also you need to do one thing which is very important. After every meeting, please do a self analysis. I mean, what did you do very well, what you did not do very well. Most of the time people don't do this exercise after the meeting, but particularly for the people who are doing it for the first time, or who people do not have much experience or exposure into to this particular kind of situations, for them this is a must. Every time you connect with somebody, have a discussion with the client, please do a self introspection. That will tell you what you do very good and what you did not do well, what is the area of improvement. As I said, it is not a one night journey or one night job. It is an ongoing activity. Meetings with the client are part and parcel of our day to day life as a SAP consultant. And don't take every burden on your head. If you need help, get in touch with your seniors, get in touch with the people in your network, get in touch with the management, and take their inputs, and then go ahead with the meeting with the client. Only thing you have to ensure is the meeting with the client should be more fruitful, more meaningful, more useful, and you should extract most of the informations, or rather I will say all the relevant information in a single meeting. And for that to happen, you have to prepare very well. These things in theory, making a statement is very easy, but when you do it in practical things, then you will see the true color of it. So, but then I'm just giving you the tips how these things are getting actually conducted and how these things need to be carried out in the real time scenario. Let's move further. Now, finally, we have come to the conclusion of this video. Here I will give you all the important tips which will help you to become very good in terms of conducting any kind of client meet, virtual, real, and that is why right in the beginning also I have given the topic as client facing roles. So if any job role is a client facing role, usually it is mentioned in the job description as well, otherwise they will tell you. And anybody who is at the mid level and senior level, they mostly have client facing roles only. Non client facing role is only at the junior level most of the time, and sometimes they are also involved. So this is not something one can run away with. This you will have to do it whether you like it or you don't, does not matter. So you can say this is a kind of default value in your job description. Then in case of any kind of doubt you have, before the discussion, during the discussion, and even after the discussion with the client, ensure that your doubts are all clarified. But the best will be if you clarify while discussing with the client, that will be the best. Why? Because you will get the answer then and there. And why I said prior what I was trying to say is you need to list down all your points. What all things we are going to discuss. And while discussing you will get clarity also. And when you are going to attend the meeting, you should have all your points ready, particularly when you are going to do some kind of presentation face to face and even on a virtual mode, doesn't matter. Or maybe client might come to your seat and then discuss right in front of you, and you are supposed sitting at the client location. It can take any route. Then your point should be ready. Sometimes they will come with notifications, sometimes they may come without notifications as well. You also need to learn how to handle criticism. Sometimes they will say that you don't even this, how you are going to handle such kind of situations. Because as I said, not everybody is expert into every possible areas within the same module. It's not possible. But whenever you come across such kind of situations where you feel that you are not fully ready to discuss on a given topic, ask for some time, no harm. But ask politely without hitting the ego of the other party. That is very, very important. And you should be presentable. You have to manage yourself very well. Whether it is communication, whether it is your dressing sense, whether it is your look and feel, and there so on. There is not one single factor. Basically, your overall personality will come into play when you are going to conduct a meeting. So, and your personality should be as such, people should love to talk to you. They should not feel that you are simply making them rotating around. Then you also need to show your best face each time when you connect with the client. Virtual or face to face really not matter much. If you really want to make your career successful, mastering these client facing roles is very, very important, because as a consultant you are expected to have expertise into certain areas, and this is one area where expertise is a must. Without that, it is very difficult to survive in the job market. The more comfortable you are in client facing roles, the more career growth you will see in your life, in your professional life. It is very, very important, and it makes sure that you get good value, good position, and good money for the work which you do. Let's move further. Now, conclusion is over. So, thank you so much for listening till now. If you still have any query related to the client facing roles, send your query to the below email ID, and I will definitely love to reply on your query. Thank you so much for watching this video till now. Kindly like this video, share it in your network, and also subscribe this YouTube channel. I will keep bringing such kind of videos in future as well on these things. And if you feel that you need to have a video on a certain topic, please mention it in the comment section of this video. I will definitely try to create videos on those topics which will be useful to you. With this, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for listening me patiently till now. Have a good day ahead. Bye bye. Thank you.